What's going on, everybody? County Gaines back here again. We're finally al fresco, out in the open air filming. Okay, it only took me about 3 years to actually get outside the house. I used to film videos outside the house, but then I kind of stopped. Realized I could do a lot more production, higher production probably at home. But I just got done a big workout. Hopefully you guys are all killing it in the gym. Okay, beautiful day finally in Galway. My God, finally. 17.5 degrees. It's only taken about 6 months to get some good weather, but yeah, guys, we're finally back at it, man. And I wanted to come out here, got some inspiration from some other YouTubers, okay, Irish YouTubers, and talk about, you know, the topics that the media has been spinning lately. And what's that, guys? Of course, the TV show Adolescence, and of course toxic masculinity, guys. What is toxically masculine, and how do we solve that problem of rambunctious kids and young men who are brainwashed by the internet? Okay, and as you guys can tell, I think it's all nonsense. I think it's all complete BS. Media sensationalizing stuff that's really not that big of a deal. You know, people giving kids inspiration on the internet. They talk about Conor McGregor, Andrew Tate being these evil people. But I have a different spin, guys. I have a much different spin because I've watched a ton of different videos on this new show Adolescence, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna give my perspective, which I think is correct, on what I think is happening in society nowadays. Okay, and it's like twofold, okay? We're gonna go over it, but you guys may be wondering why. First of all, I'm in the outback here today. Holy shit, I didn't even see that last time I was down here. Look at this tree, guys. We used to climb this tree when we were kids, man. This tree completely fell over. Holy hell. That is absolutely insane. Wow. So, why am I down the fields today, guys? Because these fields are right behind my house, or should I say in front of my house. We used to do a lot of toxically masculine activities down here, guys. We used to chop trees, huge trees down like this one. Holy shit, I better be careful here actually, because there is a shitload of trees that are falling here. So we used to do chopping trees. We used to, oh, this is a big one too that has fallen down. We used to chop trees, we used to light fires. But best of all, the best thing I've ever done in my entire life with my friends is shoot each other and play war games with airsoft guns, guys. And for those who don't know what airsoft is, it's basically like paintball. Okay, we dress ourselves up in like army clothes, you know, and we'd come down these fields. Oh, this shit is epic. I haven't been down here in about 4 or 5 years, lads. And it was the best time I've ever had in my life. Okay, we must have been about, I can't exactly remember our age, maybe 13 to maybe 15 to 24. Okay, we played into our 20s. We played into our mid-20s. And then people, you know, falling out and stuff. Not my wanting of people falling out, but people kind of stopped hanging out together. This used to be actually a goddamn, hold on a second, holy shit. This used to be like a proper kind of treehouse thing, like a fort, okay? And oh shit, here we go. I was looking for it. Look at this, guys. So you can see on the floor right here, we found a BB. These white ones, those white BBs used to be lethal. Well, no, actually, they used to be non-lethal because you could see them coming and you could duck, even though the guns were quite powerful and strong. You know, they were 400 FPS or 350 FPS, something like that. If you guys play airsoft, you know what that means. But we used to come down here and shoot the shit out of each other. This shit was legendary. Oh, I love it. This just makes me happy coming down here. Like, this was the best times I've ever had. But the black BBs were the most deadly, guys. People are gonna take that out of context. The black BBs were the most deadly. But they were the most deadly because you couldn't see them. When you got shot at, it would just like hit your it would hit your eye protection, and god damn it, you were dead. Although I don't think we used to count shots to the head. We used to never count getting shot in the head as a hit. We kind of started to do that because people were, you know, cheating and stuff like that. But Anyways, guys, we're gonna go back up. All right, guys, I actually heard there's Lyme disease in Ireland now. Pretty bad. Some teacher from some secondary school, I think in Galway, she actually got Lyme disease, guys, so can't be too careful. So I got the damn shoes tucked into the socks, okay, like a biker. And yeah, man, this is just legendary shit. But anyways, I want to get into the video today, guys. So what's toxically masculine about McGregor and all these people? Like, were we wrong as kids to come down the fields and shoot each other? And were we wrong as kids to do that? I'm gonna argue no, guys. I'm gonna argue there's a lot worse things in society that actually made us really, really violent. And when I mean us, I don't mean me personally. I just mean society in general, guys. You know, what made us so violent as a society? Right off the bat, guys, that show Adolescence had an amazing opportunity to talk about things such as stabbing, gang violence. You know, it had a great opportunity to really highlight these things in British society, because in British society, stabbings are very commonplace. It's like one of the most common things that is occurring in British society. Gang violence, black and white and Asian kids. It's not just a particular kid, a color kid. Okay, it's all different types of people, and they get into gang violence because they want to smoke weed, they want to do drugs, and you know, they end up hurting other people, you know, fatally stabbing people. Whereas what happened is that show kind of talked about a really, really, you know, really small sector. Maybe 0.001% of people have ever been murdered at 13 by their classmate, you know, by a different gender even. I mean, the statistics, if you guys Google them, are so incredibly low. It's not even worth talking about. You know, the main thing in London and in England and the rest, you know, the rest of Europe, unlike America, okay, which has mass school shootings, is in Ireland and the UK, there's a lot of gang stabbings. There's a lot of people getting hurt, you know, in their early 20s, mostly as you get into your 30s. But a lot of these gangs as well, guys, you know, have got eradicated, you know, and now because the gang violence has fallen so dramatically, I think, you know, we have Sky News, RT, News Talk, Virgin Media. Now they have to purport and push other narratives. They have to say, well, you know, now that gang violence has fallen, classroom violence has risen and kids are hurting each other and all this type of stuff. And it's just like, this is not true, guys. I captured a good moment to capture the old spraying. Look at this, like, wow, the first fine day we get in Ireland. Look at this, look at this. Hold on, let me get out here, guys. Hold on, let me get out here. The first fine day we get in Ireland, and immediately, what the hell is that? Bro, look at that, man. Can you guys see that? There's one, let me count them out. Hold up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, wow. And it's only in one part of the, it's only in one part of the goddamn, of the sky. It's not even in the full, like the rest of the skies are clear. Very strange if you ask me. I don't know exactly what's going on, guys. We'll probably never know. You know, we're in the flippin' need to know category and none of us know, you know what I'm saying? So, but talking about adolescence, guys, I want to bring it from a different frame. Let me just chill out here for a second and tell you guys, you know, about every 10 years, the media has to spin a narrative on violence, okay? Because violent society we've had for many, many decades, okay? 1945, the rise of Germany, okay? You had the rise of Germany in 1910, you know? You've had all these different wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. You've had all these different wars that the US has been in mainly, okay? But as they run pretty much the media as well, the US, okay, and they influence these other medias in Europe, the other media sources in Europe, to purport on this news, that's what happens, guys. You know, there is a 10-year cycle of bad, you know, violent society news, okay? I want to talk about how in the news nowadays, they're basically telling us that certain people are influencing us to become violent. And this is just a cycle. Don't be worried, guys. This is just another cycle. A lot of people don't catch on to this. I want to cast your minds back to 2004, 2002, I believe. Michael Moore put out a movie called Bowling for Columbine. For those who know, that's basically about the very first time, you know, these mass shootings in America happened. These school mass shootings happened in America where kids brought in guns to school and they, you know, shot up the whole school. They killed a bunch of people, teachers, and it was horrific. That kind of started a cascade of violence across the US, you know. And it definitely was more purported where kids were bringing guns to schools, and it was just horrendous stuff. And now basically this adolescence is, I think, you know, Europe's Bowling for Columbine. Okay, Michael Moore, more of a liberal guy, more of a left-wing guy. Back then he would have been called a conspiracy theorist for sure, because he had some more conspiracy theories about the Bin Laden family, things like that. If you guys ever watch his movies, they're great. You know, Sicko, talking about the healthcare system. You know, a lot of these different movies that he put out. But that one in particular, Bowling for Columbine, guys, really made an impact. I really thought that it was super, super special compared to a lot of other movies. And the reason why, he talked about and asked for the whole movie, like half the movie, what is the reason for our, and he means the US and Europe's, the Western society's violent society? What is the reason for it? Let's go through some of the reasons, guys, because nowadays they're talking about McGregor, these online social influencers, okay? But what are the real reasons, guys, okay? You know, back in that 2002 movie, they blamed Marilyn Manson, okay? They blamed the devil. Marilyn Manson and Eminem, they blamed, you know, violent rappers and musicians. That's who they blamed for the violence, guys. Influencing kids, you know, to go shoot up schools. That's what they said. The kids listened to Marilyn Manson on the way to Columbine secondary school or high school, okay? And then they had this violent sort of outburst. So they blamed on that, okay? But they also went bowling before they went to the school. So why don't they blame bowling? It's because the media scapegoats people, guys. The media is a big scapegoat, okay? And instead of blaming bowling, they said, let's blame Marilyn Manson, because Marilyn Manson is kind of something related. But we can't blame bowling. Bowling is like a safe activity. But what they're really doing is they're, like I said, arbitrarily blaming people for no apparent reason, guys, and it's hilarious. They also went on to blame violent movies, okay? Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Some guy actually murdered somebody after watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, were they influenced by the movie to murder people, or were they just crackpots and they were just a loose cannon, something waiting to happen? Okay, were they just waiting for something crazy to happen? Okay, you never really know, guys, okay? Now, you could put that on us. We were violent by playing airsoft and playing paintball. Is that going to make us violent later on in the future? I would argue not, guys. You know, I don't think anyone that ever played those games has been convicted of anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just really funny how they kind of put the blame on different people decade after decade, okay? They also put it on, you know, being poor, you know, how America is a lot more of a poor country. Like, we actually have welfare here, we have the dole, so you'll never be broke, you'll never be hungry, okay? If you want to eat, you'll be able to eat, okay? Pretty much good food. I mean, you get 250 € a week, I think it is, and you're able to get and eat good food, you know? So, you know, is it being poor? You know, I would say that's more likely to cause you to be a bad influence and be a flippin', you know, nutcase than any of these other reasons, okay? Being poor. They also talked about drugs. America has a massive drug society, you know, but this is still talking about Bowling for Columbine, of course, but, you know, in Ireland we have a huge heroin problem. In Dublin, you know, in the UK they have a massive drug problem. Cocaine, I believe Dublin is like the cocaine capital of the world, you know, and horrific problems with drugs like that. Cocaine, you know, everyone smokes weed. Of course, weed is never blamed because weed makes you chill out. You know what I mean? It's not really an antagonizer kind of drug. But it's a funny one to think about, okay? Another big one in the movie was the anger issues of the dad, and that's mainly the biggest one I think about, you know, the parental problems. You know, is it the parental problems that cause this kid to go crazy? I would argue, yeah. More than any of these online influencers. They actually said, oh, they're listening to Andrew Tate bullshit in the actual Adolescence TV show, and it's just like so ridiculous. They're pinning the blame on one guy. It's just unreal to think that you can blame one person for the murder of somebody. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous when you think logically. But of course, a lot of these left-wing Marxist, liberal, DEI, woke weirdos, they're very emotional. They're too overly emotional, so they can't think logically about any issue clearly without getting so emotional, right? My dad also said something recently which was really profound. You know, we were standing there about to go out on a walk, and he said, you know, it seems like life isn't really valued anymore so much after the lockdowns. Something switched in society, something changed in society, where life seems like maybe less than valued, and people, you know, maybe there's more of a strange air in the flippin' atmosphere, strange times. You know, it seems like completely, you know, different. You know, before the lockdowns, everything seemed great. You know, even before 2013, everything seemed amazing. Now 2025, all these years later, it just seems like there's this mysterious air, sort of mysterious air in society. It seems a bit crazy, you know. See, everything seems a lot more a lot more intense nowadays. But that movie, Bowling for Columbine, had a massive influence on me. I must have watched it 50 times. You know, it's an amazing movie talking about how violent our Western society, Europe and America, the USA, Canada, how they are so different from each other. Even showed that Canada was so much safer. And if you look at a scale, guys, Canada is so much safer than the US in every single way, okay? And you know, we're just talking about safety now, not business. Of course, the US washes every country in terms of business and making money, but Canada and all these different countries. But now it seems like Canada is getting way more violent, and so is Europe. You know, so what exactly is happening, guys? And I'm gonna leave you with this, because my camera's gonna die. I think it's probably a mixture of everything. I think it's probably a mixture of everything, guys. I don't personally think that you can blame one person, Conor McGregor, you know, this MMA fighter, this person. I just find it so arbitrary. I find it a real lack of education, honestly, you know, to even blame someone like, just like arbitrary like that. Oh, let's blame this next influencer. You know, you could very easily blame Mr. Beast. You know, you could very easily blame these other big massive YouTubers that have a lot more influence than other influencers, right? So it's kind of like scapegoating people. The media has to have an enemy, okay? The governments, the media have to have an enemy, guys, because they have to sell newspapers, they have to sell fear, they have to purport on this propaganda. So let me know your thoughts. I'm gonna leave you, like I said, with my idea that it's probably a mixture of all those things. You know, America goes to war with all these different countries. Now in Europe, we're seemingly going to war with other countries. They're telling us prepare for war and all this stuff, and it just seems insane that they're prepping us for war now. They're prepping, oh, you must have a 3-day survival kit, you know, in case anything happens that you're not able to get to fresh water or fresh food. You know, it's crazy, guys. I mean, what exactly is happening nowadays is just insane. But look at that sky, guys. You've never seen so many flipping trails in your entire life. Look at that, dude. I probably have the best video ever of all these trails. Look at that. That is unbelievable. If you guys can even see that. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, man, I think it's a mixture of all those different things combined. I truly think that, you know, blaming one person just seems completely ludicrous. And it said it in the movie, that Bowling for Columbine movie, that literally you can't blame one thing. It's a mixture of all those different things. You know, in that movie they blamed, you know, America for having loads of guns. Now it's knife crime in the UK. So it's like, what, are we going to try and ban knives in the UK? So yeah, it's just absolutely insane, guys. Really don't know what the cause is. To blame one singular person is outrageous, guys. That is just a really stupid topic. They should have made that movie about gang violence, you know, that TV show Adolescence. They should have made it about gang violence and how, you know, you're going to end up in jail or dead if you keep doing this gang violence stuff, not, you know, talking about kids and having a really unique case, which is, like I said, fictional at best. So hope you guys enjoy that, man. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys all. I can't make these videos without you. I said I'd get al dente today, or al fresco. Al dente is like, I think that's like Italian food that hasn't been cooked through or something shit like that, but al fresco. Hope you guys enjoy that, man. Yeah, man, if you guys want to see me more al fresco outside, I'm going to start recording more of my workouts. Hopefully I'll motivate the hell out of you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one, man. Peace.